Impressed because being in the 4-H is amazing, and staying in it, you're going to learn so much.
That's right.
Carry with you the rest of your life. So, Miss Leslie, I guess you're the head row of this.
We're co-leaders.
It's kind of a team effort here, but I'm proud of y'all for what you're doing, and it's fun. And you get to go on these adventures and learn about all this cool stuff.
Yes.
So, with all that being said, I am Jane, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you kind of peruse through the store. We'll just kind of go through, and let me see. Let me do this before we start going through. So we're going to walk through the store, and I'm going to point out some things, like some of the, like our little museum with some of the older stuff, and I pulled a few things out to share with you. But has any of you done any research? You know when the store actually originated, when it was built?
No.
1888. But the Priddys can't take credit for starting the business. It was the Hartman family. And you may have heard there's Hartmans in our community. There's Hartmans in the Walnut Cove area. But the Hartmans originated this store here in 1888. How many of you have ever heard of the Depression? Do you know what happened during the Depression? Okay. So, I guess inflation started. I don't know. Prices started going up. It was a bad year. The farmers, none of their crops did well. It was a really, really tough time. And then people that had their money, sometimes they put it in the bank for savings. Sometimes your parents might buy stock in the stock market. You may have heard that before. So the people that had their money in the stock market crashed. And what that meant is all the money they had in there vanished, gone. They couldn't get it back. Then the banks failed. 9,000 banks closed during the Depression. So what happened was there was not a lot of food, there was not a lot of work, and people lost their homes because the banks closed. They couldn't make payment. They had no money coming through. So people initially lost their homes, and they had kids like you. Parents couldn't feed them, and it was a really hard time for 10 years. And when my grandparents took over the store, now think about it. You want to go in business one day? You know, you want to go in, you want to do well in business, right? Well, my grandparents took this store over when nobody had any money. Families didn't have homes. They were starving. So my grandparents took this store over just a few days in October after the stock market crashed.
That's crazy. Wow.
It is crazy.
I didn't mean
So think
crazy.
about
I meant crazy good. Like, wow.
All I can say is when my grandpa worked in the coal mines in West Virginia, it must have been very good to him. For them to have had a farmhouse and move 8 children. My dad was 5 years old when they moved over here. But I'm the 3rd generation of Priddy. So I had grandparents ran the store, my mom and dad ran the store, now I run the store. But I say I don't run it, it runs me. So it's just a piece of history. It's a piece of all of our families. If anybody grew up here in this county, just because it says Priddy, it could say Moorfield General Store. It could say Tilly General Store. It could, anybody's last name. We share this. I don't even feel like I'm the owner of it, but I share this with you guys. It's history, it's a way of life, and it's a way for us to connect to our grandparents and our great-grandparents of how life was. And maybe you didn't know your grandparents, your great-grandparents, but I feel like you can come back here and get a feel for what things was like for them back when they were growing up like yourselves. So with that being said, would you like to take a step back in time?
Yes.
All right.
Miss Jane, could I ask one question? You said Hartman's. You know, our 4-H agent is a Hartman now. Is that the family?
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Hartman's buried across the road. I'm trying to think of the Hartman that used to have the meat processing.
Dale Hartman?
I think it's
Dale and
maybe his
Carolyn?
great-grandparents?
Wow, that's our
Maybe.
agent's in-law.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
So they're like family to us.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So,
Going in.
come on in.
Oh, that's like 2 Legos. No, 3,
I
4.
know.
4 Legos. No, 5 Legos.
Malachi, hop on in, buddy.
Run in and grab Everett's candy.
Y'all ever had a bologna sandwich here?
Yes.
We come regularly. Yeah. You ever had a bologna sandwich here? Bring that boy in. Oh, sneak, do it. Like lunch one day.
But just kind of gather around right here. Let me go turn that song on.
And y'all, if she has customers, she'll have to, excuse herself to take care of them. If you have a customer, we don't mind if you got to go. Okay. Well, if they walk in.
So, envision this. When this store started, there was no electricity. So there wouldn't have been any lights on in here.
No lights.
So they had to use like oil lamps and stuff. Like, this was our lighting. This was the lighting, something like this that they used. You may have seen old oil lamps in your parents' house, but this was how they produced light. So there was no electricity. There was no way to heat the place. There was an old potbelly stove that sat in the center right there that they would burn coal in to heat the store in here. So this section back here, it didn't exist. Y'all stay right there for me, because I'm going to show you something. So the store ended right here. Okay, this was the original part of the store. This has been added on back here. So up on the top shelf up here, look behind you. Oops, excuse me. These things that are on the top shelf, it's down through there to that air conditioner up there. Those are things that were once sold here in the store. It's old merchandise, a lot of soda pop bottles, the old advertising signs. I mean, Pepsi Cola was 5 cents.
Wow.
Back in the day. These are some old signs here that was on the front of the store that I took down. So,
was this what they used for the cash register?
yes, and you're very smart.
Yes,
What's your
he
name?
is.
Everett.
Everett, you're very smart. So I'm going to back up and then we'll get to the cash register. So a store like this was in every community. So now in your time, you're seeing Dollar Generals and Family Dollars pop up everywhere in every community, right? Well, this was kind of like what that was back in the day, what a Dollar General or Family Dollar. Really more so like a Walmart, because you got everything here. People would come to the store, they would get their not eggs, but their shoes or clothing, and they bought different things back in the day because they raised their own pigs and cows, they had their own chickens, so they didn't buy the things like we bought at the store today. They bought just what they needed. Sometimes they didn't have money, and they would bring their eggs or berries in and trade things out, and then a salesman would come up from Georgia and buy the stuff from my grandmother, so they traded stuff. So, how many of your parents have a credit card? Y'all know what a credit card is?
Shepard does.
Everybody.
No,
Most
it's
of-
a debit card.
Okay, y'all call it a debit card then. Okay. All right.
Or, well, credit's for credit, but debit's
Okay.
like straight from the
Okay.
bank, right?
So y'all know it better as a debit card, the little plastic. Okay. So back in the day, again, they didn't have electricity. They didn't have debit cards or anything like that. And the people that shopped in this store were farmers. Do we have any farmers in here at all? So when do the crops come in? Late summer, early fall, right? So for all that time until the crops came in, they didn't have any money flowing in, okay? So when they didn't have money, they'd come in and ask my grandmother, Miss Lula, write it down on credit for me. So this is called a ledger book. So Everett is your name? So Everett would come in, and I'd write Everett's name down, and I'd write down what he got and how much it was, and we would run a tab on him. And then when Everett would go and sell his crop of tobacco and get paid, he would come in during that time and pay of his debt. And it was all kept in a little ledger book like this. And this was my grandmother's.
I did smoke.
I know, it's okay.
I said carrots.
Right, okay, I like that. That's good. I say tobacco because that was the crop that put food on the table for our families. That was the crop that put clothes on our back. That was the crop that built our homes. That was the major crop here. Of course, it has gone away. And most people now grow grapes and strawberries and other things.
And
But
beef.
And
anyway,
it's like a testament of community. I'm sorry.
No.
Like a testament of community being on like an honor system where you know you can trust that person and come back. You're going to come back and you're good for the money. And it's kind of like in the Little House on the Prairie episodes we've seen where sometimes a storm would take out your whole crop. Then what are you going to do? I wonder if they had to deal with a lot of bad debt or things like that
yeah,
along the way.
it's just, you just rely on the good Lord. When
Yeah.
you're a farmer, that's all you can rely on, and I'm sorry, but He'll always bring you through.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
Amen.
Get that in there. Okay, so, Everett, this was my grandmother's ironing machine. And with you guys coming today, I did a little more research on this. So what I'm getting, this is from 1922. And this could have been in here left behind when the Hartmans left, even though they felt like most everything had been taken out of the store. But it's like an abacus, if I'm saying that correctly. Chinese,
Abacus.
thank you, abacus.
Yeah.
Thank you.
With the little beads ever.
So it's like that, and just you can go look up an abacus. But what Grandma would do when you bring things up to the counter, she would add them up, and it just kept adding up everything in there. It was kind of neat. But that's one of the cool pieces that I have here. How many shoes do you have in your closet? How many pairs of shoes you got in your closet? How many pairs of shoes you got in your closet? Imagine getting one pair of shoes a year. One pair of shoes a year.
I gotta try to escape that sound.
Now these were probably Sunday go to meeting shoes.
Oh, those are so cute.
These are actual little shoes that were
so
once
cute.
sold here in the store.
Oh,
Little
Those
shoes
are,
like
oh, they look so fresh and new.
Oh,
we keep them?
they're just hard as, you know.
Can we
but
keep them?
Hey, you got cowboy boots from here.
the Status Shoe Company or something
Can we
like
keep
that.
them?
No, they're
No.
good.
It's part of the history class. Jeez. Got kind of signed right there. Yeah. And so you do everything in here. I'll slice a country ham every now and then.
With that?
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's got added value. I use it as a table now to put stuff on there. But I don't do it
Very
as
creative.
much. It's just a service, that I'll
How much
provide.
do these cost?
They're $4.99 a bag. So I kind of got sidetracked. So anybody got any questions? Y'all help me get back on track here. Questions?
we were talking outside when you had gone on in about the bologna sandwiches. Did your grandma do bologna sandwiches? Okay, so that's an old tradition. Okay.
That's correct. Yeah. She had bologna, cheese. Things come in wooden. Oh! Things come in tobacco. Things come in wooden boxes back in the day.
We have those boxes.
This is what a block of cheese would come in.
Wow.
So this comes in a cardboard box now.
Huh.
Still the same size.
Wow.
So back in the Depression, this was maybe a clearinghouse, if you will, for the Red Cross that came in and aided people that were suffering, that didn't have food and money. So I hear even people today come and say, "You got any of that Red Cross cheese?"
Huh.
They just, because they were so hungry, they remember that cheese tasting so good. It just tasted so good. They called it Red Cross cheese.
Wow.
But they distributed out things in here to people that needed, like for example, what's going on down in Mississippi with the hurricane, the tornado that destroyed everything. People need water, they need food. The Red Cross comes in and brings them food and stuff. Well, that existed back during the Depression when my grandparents were in here, and they served, they helped distribute things for the Red Cross in here. I think it was ham too, maybe, or something. I'm not for sure all about that.
Who has had a bologna sandwich from here? Several of y'all? Oh, that's a bunch. That's good. If you haven't, I recommend it.
And here's a roll of bologna.
Wow.
So when people come in now, I mean, they might buy a few slices of it or get a sandwich. But back in the Depression days, when they come to the store, they only come a few times. And they didn't have any cars. It took them a long time to get here. So when they come, they would buy in bulk. You know, kind of like we go to Sam's now, we buy in bulk.
Right.
But they'd buy like a whole roll of bologna. Maybe it was bologna the Red Cross distributed. I don't know.
Big.
But this is bologna. And probably what you've seen is in a little pack already sliced. So this is what a roll of bologna looks
But
like.
it's big.
Yeah.
Do you think they had the same kind of cheese that you like? I'm fascinated with that cheese. It's only made 1 month of the year or somewhere.
Well, that's out of Wisconsin. It's the June Daisy hoop cheese. I'm not real sure. I do know that they did have hoop cheese, but I don't know if it came from Wisconsin or not.
A lot of those antique holding boxes, I'll say like the craft cheese product. It was like when they
Right.
started transitioning over into more economical cheese.
There you
And
go.
most of it was the processed.
And that's when your craft processed cheese come in. You get those little packs, and it's not even real food.
No, it's not.
It's like
It's one
oil.
molecule
They
away
put
from
Please
on-
eat
Ugh.
real food.
Yeah.
Don't eat fake
Now the
food.
Wisconsin cheese, that's real cheese.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it's
what?
not the
Yeah.
And it's a
processed
month. What month is only made?
June.
It's only made in June. Isn't that crazy? 1 month.
It is. This is the
Oh, I
original
love it.
floor.
I do. I
The
want some
floor
now.
In front of the counter up there has been replaced, but this is, and I love how it squeaks.
Yeah, I love it. So cool.
I'm missing some here, guys.
The dog?
So it was always called a general store, not like a mercantile or anything, just a general
So
store.
Grandma and Grandpa on the old Raymond's calendar, they called themselves Indy Priddy and Company. So the legal name of it is Jane Priddy Grocery. But when I came in here, I'm like, this is more than a grocery.
Yeah.
We do business as Priddy's General Store. It just tells
Yeah.
really the story
Sure.
of who we are. But yeah.
On that other documentary you did, there was another something beyond that wall, and I didn't know that till your documentary.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not
That
saying
was
take
added-
us there.
That was added on too.
Okay.
So this thing hanging over her head right here. This is a nail keg.
Huh.
So nails was shipped in this from Belgium, from Europe, obviously to the port of Wilmington, and then put on a railroad, on a train, and come to Walnut Cove.
Huh.
So what amazes me is it has Mrs. Indy Priddy Danbury NC on the bottom of this barrel, and I'm like, when was my grandmother's and grandfather's name stamped on the bottom? Was it in Belgium?
Wow.
Was it in Wilmington? But I mean, that's a nail keg. I mean, it's like, it probably, I don't know, it probably was stamped on there in Wilmington. But to think that that came from Belgium, and my grandparents took a wagon and their horses and went to Walnut Cove to pick up their goods for the store. Mr. Fulton, the Fulton Wholesale House down there, showed up here the day my grandma and dad was in here and talked her into placing an order and opening the store. I don't know if they really knew if they was going to open the store or not. But they had to go to Walnut Cove on a wagon
Huh.
and take a whole day before we had to close the store and pick up goods for the store. Maybe they had somebody that worked in here. I'm not real sure. But all I know is my mom and dad worked in here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. 5 days a week, and they work Saturday. And I'm here for sure, Lord willing, Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 6. And I think, wow, nothing like my grandparents and my mom and dad put in here. But they were here to serve the community. It was more than a business.
Do
It was a
you
way of life. What?
do you feel like you get more locals in here or tourists at this
It takes
point?
both.
Yeah.
It's about half and half.
Yeah.
And I think because we still cater to the local, we're able to stay original as a general store and offer things like motor oil, spark plugs, you know, overalls, boots, and then gifty kind of touristy kind of items, if you will, you know. So it takes both for us to survive. You
Does
have
any of your
questions?
family work with you?
My brother-in-law helps out a little bit, but it's pretty much just me. So I'm the janitor, I'm the cashier, I'm the buyer, I'm the marketer, the PR lady. I don't know. Like I said, I feel weird saying I'm the owner. I just feel like I share this with a lot of people. I don't really feel like I'm owner.
Oh.
Anyway, I don't know. It's just strange. It's hard. I just lost my mom a year ago, and she still owns the store. And I just don't feel comfortable saying it's mine only because I don't really think. I don't know. Should have to-
Well, you're the mayor of this place.
She is the mayor of the store.
You're not the owner, you're the mayor.
Okay. Well, you know, and the mayor is a jack of all trades, master of none, and that's definitely who I am. I don't ever get bored.
I have a question. She mentioned Christian mentioned the tourists. Like, where are some places people have come from here? I know there's been all kinds, like people.
So people that actually plan to come and visit here, there were some folks from Ireland that ran a pub that had Irish, like, bluegrass music. And because we do bluegrass music here in October, they were following that Blue Ridge Music Trail, and they wanted to experience where these music events took place and stuff to take back to Ireland with them,
Wow.
which was kind of neat. We had bluegrass musicians from Japan
Wow.
that visited here. And I had, they were, I think it was Japanese. So it was a man and woman that came in, and they were going through all these old shoes and offering me crazy prices for them. I'm like, so they took stuff from Pretty General Store back to their vintage shop.
post about
I
this?
did
I saw
in
that.
Japan to sell, and no telling what they got for the prices. But I had one jacket from the 1950s that I don't know if you know Colin Anderson or not.
I know the name.
He's an actor. He did a show over at the Arts Place, one of the first shows ever
yes.
done over there, one man show. But there was two jackets. It was N&O denim or something, and they offered me a crazy price for it, and I couldn't take it. I just felt like it was too much, but I let it go. But it was from the 1950s, so they took it back with it. I'm like, what good is it really doing? I just don't have it to show y'all is the only thing, so forgive me.
It's okay.
Did they
Yes.
buy
That picture.
That's of my grandparents. So the black and white picture up there is of my grandmother and grandpa. So that was Lou and Pretty and Noah. And I think that was around the year that they got married in 1910.
You're good. You don't
And
know. You know Noah that comes to youth night sometimes? Came and brought a couple friends a few
No.
weeks
this
ago.
is just a picture of my
Middle school.
grandmother in the late 40s sitting on the front porch.
He was named after him.
She, the front porch was wooden, and they had like a screen door or whatever. Leslie, you know that movie that Durwood and them have? So the store is in that. And if you didn't know, I mean, if nobody was there, I wanted to come to that, but it was very towards the end of it. But it shows my grandpa, grandma, daddy, two other men walking out the front of the store, and it spans across the store, and you can see the shuttered things up there, and you can see the top of the old gas thing. And my grandpa always smoked a pipe, Prince Albert. But there was a snippet of that in there,
I bet.
which was wild, because my grandfather was a diabetic, and he lost one of his legs. She never saw my grandpa with both of his legs, and he was walking out of the
Wow,
store.
you saw him walking in
And
that
my
movie.
dad looked like the Fonz. He
Wow.
was like 16 years old, probably. He had looked like he had a little black leather jacket.
Wow.
He was looking good.
Oh, man.
He looked like
I'm
the
gonna go
Fonz,
back.
man. It's like,
You've seen that old 40 Mile Code movie,
I know
haven't you?
we've seen.
You should see that. That's
one
what
of
she's
the
talking
movies
about. It's
that
really good.
The story's been in.
oh no, ain't that cabin fever movie this week?
Well, that's all. I don't even want to say it out loud. But
No.
has it been in a lot of movies? I mean, we know
Story's
about
been
that
in
one and the
movies.
one you just said. But is it kind of
So,
You see in the back of them all.
that's
Asparagus. I thought it was
asparagus.
pickled green beans. But
It's just like coming into my home. I have to clean that. I'm sorry. Yeah. So there was it was a good movie, not good, but good as far as revenue. That was filmed here. Called Cabin Fever. Don't watch it. It's an R-rated comedy horror. It's just gross. It's about a flesh-eating virus. But that was kind of cool. But a lot of learning goes on in that. So I'll never do another movie that the whole family can't sit down and watch. So if you ever watch it, please forgive me. Forgive me because we didn't know what we were doing.
Okay.
I just think it's neat. I mean, we watched it way back when we were still dating. Michael was always into
I knew
silly,
you
that
didn't let your
silly-
children see
not
it.
at all.
It's just
But
gross.
silly stuff like that, and I was like, that's pretty sore. That's pretty sore, that movie.
But yeah, it was mostly all filmed in Stokes County.
Yeah. Wow.
But anyway.
Now, when was
I
that?
feel like I'm missing
You said the
something.
store ended there. When did that come?
That was in the early 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was actually about your age probably when that was being built. And we would get off the school bus and come back here and, we would just sit on as it was being built. It was just cool. Yes.
What kind of cane gaming is this?
It's just somebody made a cane that looks like a handsaw, I guess.
No, it kind of looks like a gun.
Yeah, well, it does look like a gun a little bit.
Might make
But
it like a
it's
clutch.
like maybe it's
It-
a cross
yeah.
between a gun and a handsaw.
Oh,
So that's something that we try to do is have local stuff in here as much as we can. People in the county, they're very talented and they make some cool stuff like our jams and jellies. There's a lot of local stuff up there. We try to support our local people and have those unique things, especially when our visitors come. That's what they want to take home with them. Something that was made right here in Stokes County. If it can't be Stokes County, then I really support North Carolina stuff. Made in America stuff.
I'm sorry, is that the original broom or is that just merchandise?
No, it was just a gift from an artist.
Oh.
And people just bring me stuff and I'll just hang it here and hang it there and,
When did that new thing come from?
that is from Anna R.H. Behringer. It's an advertising. It's not that old. It's probably from the 80s.
It's a big deal.
But the old signs, that are hanging out, these were once original signs that hung on the outside of the store. Now that is a puzzle. That's not a part of the original, but it shows some of the Coca-Cola history up there. I feel like I'm just missing something.
I know you have the bluegrass singings in October, but I have this memory of being right there in that room with the bluegrass. Am I remembering that right?
Well, since the craziness world, we just hadn't packed a bunch of people in here. And there's some work that we've got to do on the store before I pile more people in here.
Gotcha.
So we're just kind of waiting. And the other thing is I've been very blessed. I've got more traffic now than ever before. So I'm getting older and I'm like, I can't stay up late on Friday nights. And, I miss it. We'll see. But we're going to stay focused on our October music event because, so when my mom and dad, when my dad died, he was a McCulloch chainsaw dealer, a snapper lawnmower dealer, and he had a repair shop here. And that's what put food on the table for us kids growing up, and clothes on our back, shoes on our feet, shelter over our head. That was the money of the store. And when my dad, I grew up in a red light and took his life almost 24 years ago. Hold your question for me. I'm gonna get to you.
Bless your heart.
So we had to reinvent. Most people, this store would have been gone. If it hadn't been for God leading me back here and just instilling in my heart, all the credit goes to God because I didn't know what was going on. I quit my other job, come back here and work. And people are like, what are you doing? Because I went to college. They're like, you went to college, what are you coming back here for? I'm like, well, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
It doesn't always look like how the world wants it to
That's
look
right.
like. So we had to find a way to survive. It was like a little mini depression going on in here when my dad died 24 years ago. We were just sitting here like, how are we gonna do this? Bills coming in, it's tight, so Todd said, you should do music here. And they do it at Floyd, Virginia. And I'm just like, I guess I can do it, you know. So he booked the first band, and that helped bring awareness to the store. It was an advertising tool. It was a marketing tool, and it showcased our local talent here. So that helped kind of put us on the map, so to speak, and people are like, oh, Priddy's. Otherwise, they just drive by, oh, that's just an old store. They don't even know if it's open or not. You know, I hear that a lot. We didn't know it was
So it was
open.
open that whole time. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it's old. There's not a lot of cars here. The way it's positioned, people just think it's an old building sitting here. But that helped bring people here that wouldn't have normally came, and they would come through the store and they'd see things that we would have, and it just helped. You know, if you've ever played dominoes, it just kind of kept
Snowball.
leavening, if you want to, and just slowly growing. And it was a good thing probably that we were slow
The first.
in the beginning, because I had a 4-month-old, a 2-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And people would come in here and say, oh, you're homeschooling your kids? I'm like, no, but I had a corner back there for them, and I raised my kids in here while I worked. I didn't send them to daycare. I just wanted them here with me. Nothing against daycare. I just wanted my kids here with me. So it worked out.
That's wonderful.
Thank you, Lord. So, yeah.
Is this? I'm sorry. Ask
Did y'all buy this place?
That's a
From
that's a really good question.
Did someone
That's
have it
in there.
before y'all?
So the Hartmans had the store. The second generation had taken a loan out. Banks were closing. People couldn't make their payment back to the Hartmans. They couldn't make their payment. They lost it. My grandparents traded money from the bank, and they acquired the store through the bank. When my mom and dad came in here in 1960 to start running the store, my grandmother was still living, but she was older and she couldn't do it. So I was like 7 years old. My daddy had to go through a public auction to buy the house, the store, and the farm. And what that means is, I was scared to death I wasn't gonna get any more free candy bars. That's where I was. I was like, that's what I was thinking. So a public auction is when, like, if somebody in your family dies and there's no will or whatever, they have to put it out to public auction, or the family agrees to do that. And so somebody could have bid it against my daddy and took the store away from our family.
Oh.
There was a risk there, but it worked out. I think there was somebody that bidded a little bit, maybe against him, what my mom's told me before, but Dad was able to get the store back. Well, yeah, he had to buy it. My daddy had to buy it at a public auction. And I remember, if you've ever been to an auction, they'd have a little concession stand, like when you have ball games and stuff, they sell concessions. I remember coming here getting that box of Hershey bars, thinking, this might be my last Hershey bar, you know? Because I looked at it as getting it for free. It was never free. It was always paid for. But I'll never forget that day. Yeah, that was a good question. Thank you.
I forgot.
Any other questions, y'all?
He was going to ask about the store. He and I were wondering, is this the oldest? You might have said this. Oldest operating?
Okay, in the Piedmont Triad, it's the oldest. But the Mass General Store in Valley Crucis was built in 1883. There's a Buchanan store in, maybe Person County maybe, but it's near Carr Lake. It's, or it might be Caswell County.
But you're the oldest Stokes.
Well, yeah, oldest operating.
Wow,
so.
y'all are in the
But
oldest
as
store.
far as I know, we're the third oldest operating. I know third oldest as far as structure, as far as when it was built. But yeah, the Mass General Store was built in 1883, and of course the Mass is owned by all of their employees now. It's just not the Mass family. And the Mass family actually come to visit me. The original owner,
Huh.
he's probably passed away now, but I felt honored
Wow.
that they would come and visit us. And this has probably been 15 years ago.
That's
Mr.
cool.
Mass, yeah. But it's like with other general stores, we have this connection. Sure. You know. Yeah, and the Appalachian Channel's opened up doors of other stores. I've got cookbooks from Muddy Pond, Tennessee, the Mennonite family
Wow.
up there that has a little store, general store. I've got some of their cookbooks now.
Wow.
And there's a R.M. Brooks out in Tennessee. I mean, it's just like the Appalachian Channel is making these connections, and it's kind of cool. So
Well,
if
it's
you
kind of like a
YouTube
dying
a lot,
breed, so you can stay connected and keep it alive. I think it's really special.
Me too.
It's really awesome. Have you heard of the Rockford General?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's pretty.
Yes.
It's pretty up there in age too.
I'm not sure
I feel
what-
it feels
yeah.
a lot like this. At least last time I walked in.
and they actually came to visit us
Did they?
before they opened, because he lost his wife.
I don't even know.
And the
Since I was
Buchanans came to
little.
visit when they took over. So, you know, it's kind of like Stokes County, our arts council. The Stokes Stomp is the longest running arts council event in the state of North Carolina. And when that started, people from all over the state of North Carolina came to Stokes County
true.
to learn how they put the Stokes Stomp on, so they could go back to their communities
Wow.
and do what we're doing up here.
That's so cool.
So you guys are from a good county.
That's right.
There's a lot of innovation here. You don't hear about a lot because we're humble people.
Right.
And we don't boast a lot. So that's why I'm glad you get to go on these little trips and hear some of the little secrets that's hidden in the mountains of Stokes County.
That's right.
Thank you so much
Right.
for sharing and letting us
You're
come in.
welcome.
We are
You're
so
welcome.
appreciative. We just love it.
And I want you guys, is it okay if you get fireballs? Is fireballs a good candy?
I was gonna say if they wanted to look around and find something for
they
parents
will.
to
You
buy.
do debit or just cash?
I can do both.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, what I do with it.
Isn't
Or I can write it down the old list.